5. The art of living forever starts now. This art of living forever. From the beginning of time, throughout history, people have always looked for the fountain of youth. What's the secret to eternity, to eternal life? From the pyramids of the pharaohs of old, who would bury their live wives and children with them in the hope of finding that secret to immortality. From cryogenic freezing of DNA to all kinds of methods, some absolutely insane, some perhaps more scientific. Humans have always been seeking for that element of immortality. And it makes sense why. After you live your life, you invest in so much energy and time and money and pain and everything that we invest in. We'd like to believe that the fruits of our labor are not temporary, are not just for a day or for a year or for a few years, that really live on forever. No one has ever figured out how to take your money with you to the other world. So the material possessions and material successes of our lives are clearly not the key to eternity. So is there an answer to this question? Or is it just wishful thinking, something that we never can really attain and just dream about? Well, my friends, I will give you the answer. And let me tell it to you through a story. A number of years ago, I was invited to speak at what's called a shloshim. A shloshim is sadly, after someone passes away, Jewish custom. There's the idea of 30 days after the passing, an event is made. In addition to the Shiva, which is 7 days of mourning and grieving, 30 days marks a particular phase in the soul's departure from this earth. So I was invited to speak at this thing called a shloshim. It's an event where family, friends come together. It was in the Upper West Side of Manhattan. And I remember we were driving up the West Side Highway, whoever was driving me, and I was thinking about what am I going to speak about? And often what I do is I look at the billboards, at advertisements, out the window. You never know what you're going to see. And then it hit me. I saw a big, big billboard. I remember on the right side of the West Side Highway, closer to the probably 65th Street, earlier, no, probably 55th Street, something like that, before it turns into the Henry Hudson Parkway. And a big billboard. It was an advertisement for Newport cigarettes, of all things. Newport cigarettes. And they had the most beautiful two faces, a man and a woman, brilliant faces, shining, their eyes. And remember, a big billboard on the highway is large, and especially their teeth. Their teeth were glistening white, the whitest teeth you've ever seen. And it said, alive with pleasure. And then there's a box of a Newport cigarettes down on the bottom. And of course, immediately what caught my attention was the warning, hazardous to your health, can cause pregnancy complications. I don't remember, and death, a very prominent warning, because that was what was required by law. They're spending millions of dollars on these billboards while they're telling you this can kill you, and clearly it's working, or else they wouldn't spend that money just to warn people. So with all the warnings, the two beautiful faces, Newport cigarettes, and I hope nobody here takes any offense if you're a Newport cigarette smoker, and this is not meant to be personal in any way. And I said, there I have it. I have my whole speech for the shloshim. It happened to be, well, nothing happens to be, but it was also the week in the chapter in the Torah that we read. It's called The Life of Sarah. So my talk was all around this billboard, and I said, hey, you look at this billboard, which so much personifies marketing in our days, where people see those two beautiful faces, you want to look like them. Those white teeth, you want to have such teeth. I don't think there's anyone on earth that has such white teeth, especially not smokers. But they're not going to show you the teeth of a smoker. And they're definitely not going to show you an x-ray of their lungs. But here's the face. It looks good. Like as they say, the Madison Avenue cynics say, it's not important what happened, it's important what people think happened. So here you have these two faces. It's etched in your psyche, and you're associating it with smoking Newport cigarettes, which with all the warnings, these faces are more powerful, the image that it creates. And it's alive, not just alive with pleasure. So what does life mean? What does life mean? And especially a life with pleasure. Is it to look like these two faces, even if they're fake, even if they've been photoshopped, even if they don't reflect the true picture of their teeth or their lungs? Is that what life is? What it looks good? We all know that's temporary. Those looks are temporary. It's good to be beautiful, but it's temporary. So here's the story. The chapter in the Torah that we read this week is called The Life of Sarah. Now you would think truth in advertising, talking about advertising, is that this is the title. When you're going to read about her life. Lo and behold, you begin reading, the first verse is already seemingly out of context. It's not the story of the life of Sarah. It says, these are the years of the life of Sarah. 127 years she lived, and she died. And then the story continues. Not one verse in this chapter is about her life. It's all about after everything that happens after her death. How Abraham seeks out and buys a burial plot for her in now what is known as the Ma'arat HaMachpelah in Hebron. How he then seeks out to find a wife for his son Isaac that he had with Sarah. And they're looking for someone that would emulate the qualities and the virtues and the values of Sarah. It's all about posthumous Sarah. If you want to dedicate a chapter to her life, last week's chapter. So why would you call a chapter that talks everything about the events that happened after her life, called the life of Sarah? And the answer, my friends, is both simple and brilliant, and is the secret to immortality. What is the answer? You want to know when a person is really alive. Don't look at their picture. Don't look at their teeth. Don't look at their lungs. Look at their spirit. Look at what effect they have on the people that they influenced in life. You want to know the real effect, the real life of a person? Look at the day after they pass, the year after they pass. Thousands of years. We're now thousands of years, 3,800 years approximately, from when Sarah walked this earth. And we're talking about her and learning lessons from her. And learning lessons from her values and from her standards and from the way she lived her life. Then you know she's lived an eternal life. In other words, eternity, you see that after the physical, biological person is no longer there. There are many people during their lifetimes, they terrorized others. They had tremendous power and influence, but no one wanted them to live. People couldn't wait till they would leave this earth. And when they do, they couldn't forget them quick enough. And then there are people who live in this world and pass away whenever they do, and people remember them forever. That is immortality, my friends. It's not physical immortality. It's understanding that the only thing that really lasts, that's eternal and immortal, is the spirit. And if you live a life of spirit, that is perpetual. If you live a life of matter, like everything in this physical world, is subject to the elements, to the laws of nature. It will erode, it will age, it will deteriorate, and it will perish, one way or another, in that form. Spirit lives on forever. So it's all up to us as we live our lives right now. Eternity doesn't begin at the end of the story. It begins at the beginning. The decisions you make right now, you take a moment in your life, and instead of living a greedy moment, a selfish moment, a narcissistic moment, you dedicate that moment to helping someone. That lives on forever. One of the most gratifying things is to meet someone years after you've initially met them, and they tell you, you know, something you said to me years ago, something you did for me, I will never forget. So you can take a moment and turn it into eternity. To hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour, as William Blake writes, is actually possible. It's not just a nice poetic romantic fantasy. It's when you take your moments and you turn them into something that's greater than the moment. The magical events in our lives, the magical moments that live forever, are the ones that have a spiritual, eternal immortality to them. And that's what Sarah personified. And that's why the chapter that's called The Life of Sarah is actually, we see her true life when you see the effect of everything that happened afterwards. Effect on her husband Abraham, the effect on her son Isaac, the effect on her daughter-in-law Rebecca, the effect on all her children and grandchildren until this very day. So not the pharaohs of old, and not cryogenics, and not all the technologies of the world will give us immortality. It will be that spirit. So as much as we have advances today in longevity, medical advances, AI, and so on, junk in, junk out. Matter in, matter out. Temporary in, temporary out. The only way to create eternity is from eternity. Spirit creates eternity. And that's something each of us have in our control every given moment. It's an unbelievable lesson in life because unfortunately, very often people will choose instant gratification over permanent, true permanent, eternal success. Because we buy into the moment. We don't think about the big picture. So, alive with pleasure, yes. You see those two beautiful faces, those white teeth. Not only is it alive, they call it alive with pleasure. And they try to convince us that's the case. You want life, you want pleasure, permanent life, permanent pleasure. You need to hook in, plug in to the spirit of your life, to your values. And it's a very simple litmus test. When you meet somebody, what happens after that meeting? Not during the meeting. What kind of a perpetual, permanent impact will that meeting have on you and on that other person? Most meetings, business meetings, fun, entertainment, they last, but only for a certain period of time. You have the power of the eternal in the palm of your hand right now. Use it well. Because you, yes, the mortal you, can become immortal when you transform your moments by serving, by helping, by loving others, and by creating that spiritual energy that has a ripple and butterfly effect that never ends. Be blessed and be well, and may each of us be remembered 3,800 years from now, as Sarah is being remembered as we speak. Thank you so much. This has been Simon Jacobson, Meaningful Life. MeaningfulLife.com is our website. Please check it out. Take advantage of the many resources there. Now we have an AI agent and tool that can help you find anything you seek. And if you found this message meaningful, please share it with others. Please subscribe to our offerings, to our YouTube channel. And of course, as always, please love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your comments. And let's keep this eternal cycle, this eternal chain, perpetuating, continuing, paying it forward on and on ad infinitum. Be well and be blessed.